I feel like this learning where you guys are at with your teams right now and everyone is in such a different place, I feel like sets the perfect tone for our conversation today and the workshop we're going to do today, because you truly have the power to do it however you want when it comes to hiring. So we're going to talk about a lot of how we have done it and things that have worked for Dawn and I. We're going to talk about some overarching topics, but then we're going to get into specifics on how we have done things. But everything we share and everything we say comes with the background of you can do it in a way that works best for you, and the options are truly endless. So we like to share what works for us, but just know that we are aware these are not the only options available for how you can manage a team, how you can run a team, what your role can be in your own team. You really get to choose what that looks like for you. I'm gonna
Actually,
share
I
this.
know this isn't part of our plan, but I think we should start off by telling like our stories and journeys of hiring.
I love
Want
that.
to
You
do
want to
that?
start it out?
Yeah, sure. Just because
Some
I just
background.
really want to yeah, give background, but really emphasize that it's changed and been different over time too. So to start, I kind of mentioned this a minute ago. But my first okay, when I started my business, was not intending to start a business. It was supposed to be a side hustle, one man shop, didn't want to hire anyone. That was the whole point of working by myself. And then within a few months, I was hiring my sisters and I justified it because it was like my sisters, like I know, it's fine, it's family. Um, so I had one of my sisters doing office management work and just like processes data stuff. And then another one was helping me with the marketing and like building out freebies and resources and some blog posts just for like FAQ so that I wasn't typing up the same emails over and over and over again. And I had when I started with a couple of clients and I had to get a couple more to like justify the cost of the tax software I was using. So I needed to do a little bit of marketing, had to grow a little bit anyway. Within a few months after that, I realized wait, I need help with the bookkeeping side of things. That means I need like a legit hire. I had my sisters on payroll. They were employees, okay? They were legitimate. But the whole like I'm related, it's not as intimidating. So my first stranger hire, we're giving you the real. My first stranger hire, she worked with me for like 2 or 3 weeks and then completely ghosted me. Never heard from her again. Um, don't know what happened. I was like trying to search the news where she was in a completely different state, trying to search the news, like what happened? Did she pass away? Did she really just hate it here that much? I don't know. So that scarred me a minute. And luckily, my best friend from grad school, she was my next hire, and she was ready to work full time from the start. Because at this point, I had hired that girl who ghosted me part time, and then she didn't pick up any work. And then I was still getting new work. Like I was so overwhelmed at this point. So hired my best friend from grad school full time. And then she knew of someone, and then she knew of someone. And so slowly I was dabbling my feet into like okay, we are hiring and I don't know these people, but they're still coming from someone, like they're still referral based. Anyway, within just over a year of starting my business, we had a team of 6 employees, all, well, one full time, but the rest all part time. Um, and it was just one of those things of I realized really quickly how great growing a team actually was, even though I was super like against it. It's just because I didn't realize the power in hiring the right people and having different people for different positions. And so now where we're at now, we have 20 people on our team. One girl just I think we have 19 people on our team. We're in the process of hiring 4 more at the moment as we speak. Just sent out an offer yesterday, doing more interviews tomorrow. Like we're continuing to hire and grow.
Are they
Um,
all are they
are
all
they all what?
full-time, Dawn?
We're hiring 2 to 3 full time and then one more part time tax preparer. like more seasonal, I guess.
Or I'm
So
sorry, but
full
what
time.
about the 19 you already have?
Oh, sorry. No, all of them, everyone's part-time at the moment. The most we have working is like 35 hours a week. That's full-time for us. So 30 to 35. We have a few there, but yeah, mostly all part-time. And yeah, it's just gotten to the point of I'm so passionate about having a team and having the right people, and they truly make showing up for work so much more special and easier and all of the good things. So I really nerd out about hiring because I've done it so many different ways of knowing people or complete strangers or getting ghosted or having to fire people or having to demote people or having to increase their salary because they undersold themselves. Like it's kind of been all of the things. But yeah, there's my rambling story.
I do feel like sharing like the crazy things that we have seen and things that we've learned through that, I think hopefully can help you guys avoid the things that I had to fire my second employee and we lost a client over it. And that traumatized me a little bit over hiring. And kind of had to recover from that and have since been very intentional about how I've hired. So I started my business pre-COVID. It was a side hustle, didn't really know I was going to hire, similar to Dawn. And Elizabeth, I saw you say you were the same in the chat. I think I knew I wanted a team and like to have a full company at some point, but I always thought it was going to be like way later in my life. It's not what I envisioned happening now for some reason. So I just thought I would just do bookkeeping for clients for a little while. And it had replaced my 9 to 5 salary. So that was great. And then COVID happened and I had a lot of free time on my hands and I just filled that time with working. So I took on more clients. I was working in the evenings. I was working on the weekends, didn't really have much else to do. I enjoyed it. Honestly, when COVID started, it kept me really busy. I don't sit still very well. So I think it was like good for me when COVID first started, but then I really ramped up way too fast on my own. And got completely burnt out. COVID, like I think beginning of 2021 was my very first hire. It was also someone I knew. It was someone I knew from high school. We kind of stayed in touch. We were friends. And then um, I knew I needed somebody. She came on and I was like, I just want you to work 5 to 10 hours a week on admin stuff. And I think within about a month, I had her at almost full time. And then in 3 months, I know I had her full time because I hired my second person. And that second person I hired was my first stranger that I hired. I found her on LinkedIn and it was a desperate hire. Like fully admitting we were
Yeah.
so bogged down with work. I was so desperate to have like another body in the business that could do bookkeeping. We had an insane amount of clients coming on, and I just was like totally overworked and overwhelmed. So I brought this girl on, didn't give her nearly enough training, and just trusted that she knew what she was doing based on how our interviews went. She interviewed really well. I liked her. She had the right experience. I just thought she's going to be a good fit. She's going to know what she's doing. A couple weeks in, I started to realize she might not know as much as I think that she knows. And she was missing a lot of deadlines. She was dropping a lot of balls. And I was really having to like follow up on a lot of things because I was a new manager. I had never really managed any people before. I had trained, but I'd never been in roles before my business where I was like a true manager of someone. So managing a team was completely new for me. And thankfully, my husband is a recruiter and I'm venting to him like we do. And he's like, you got to fire this girl. She is like, he just would like go, like every time I would vent, he's like, you've just got to be quick to fire. You cannot let this drag out. She's literally sucking money out of your bank account. She's upsetting your clients. Like, this is like so many red flags. She's like a vampire to the business. Like, you have to let her go. I think if it wouldn't have been for him pushing me so hard to do that, I think I would have let it drag out farther because I kept trying to make it work. I kept trying to be like, if I just have this conversation with her, if we just do this, if I just improve this skill, it'll work. And it wouldn't have. It just for so many reasons. But I fired her 6 weeks after she started, maybe 7 weeks, but it was like I think 6 weeks after she started, and she canceled our one-on-one. And that was like the third time she had canceled a meeting with me. And I was like, all right, that was it. And then since then I've gone on, I've got a team of 5, everyone's full-time. And I, in the beginning of 2022, kind of mentally felt like we had a really good team, but was still overwhelmed. Like I still felt like I was the bottleneck in my business. I felt like I was the one everyone went to for every question. I still felt burnt out and bogged down. So I completely reworked the way that I run my team. I was able to take a really nice maternity leave, like completely checked out from work. I'm able now to like take time off and not feel like I have to be in the know on every single thing that's happening with every single client. And I think if you would have asked me that like 2 or 3 years ago, I just wouldn't have thought that was possible in my business, the way that I had set it up and the way that I was managing my team. Um, so I think there is a lot of learning that everyone does on your own as you like experience different people and different clients. Like we know that from clients, I learn something new from every client that we bring on. It kind of shapes our business. And I think a team is the same. And just being really intentional about who you bring on and how you train them to do their work and what their role looks like is so important versus just like needing a body on the team, just like throwing someone in there. Hoping that just having a body in a spot will be the thing that makes life easier for you.
Yeah. Okay. I have more to say on that, but I'll do it in the presentation.
Okay. Thank you guys for listening to our rants, but hopefully that gives you some background on where we've been with our businesses, where we're at right now, and kind of what's going on along the way. So what we wanted today to be was more of a workshop to really work with you guys on your actual business, because everyone's business is so different. So whenever we think about hiring, Dawn and I have things that we do similarly and we have things that we do very different. But what it boils down to when we're hiring is it comes down to time. We're going to talk a lot about time audits, how to remove time from your own team, how to audit your team's time, and really making sure that time is working in your favor in your business. Money, so the financial piece, you guys are accountants, we know that you know what you're doing, but we're just going to share some different ways that we have financed bringing on new team members, because I think a lot of times that can be something that holds people back from taking the step to bring someone on. And then freedom, just what true freedom has looked like in our businesses versus feeling like we are so tied down to the work, or that we created another job for ourselves. Even after we came out of a job, I originally had created a job that was worse than any other job I'd ever had until I switched some things around. So I'm just talking about what true freedom can look like if you've got the right team in place and the right people in place.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm going to jump over. We're going to start with kind of chatting about time.
Have you guys ever done time audits, or have you heard of them? I don't know. I heard about it a lot when I was starting in the online entrepreneur world. Been on your radar. Awesome. Now we're gonna give you homework and have you do it. No, but time audit, I feel like it was just a popular subject a few years ago, and now people say it, but I don't know. We would encourage all of you to do a time audit and do it like recurringly. So when you're doing a time audit, what we mean by this is looking at where you're spending your time. So maybe you're tracking your time by like client and how much you're working with a certain client. Then you're also tracking how much you're doing, like working behind the scenes in your business or marketing or whatever else that is. And get like really picky on these things. It can even just be like at night, you spent an hour stressing about the taxes in your business, and that was you working. Like write all of those things down and do it over. I I like to do it over like a week span if that's a normal week. If there's like a day that's not a normal day, a work day, like maybe throw that out. But do that and then go through, this is the CEO part of the time audit, then go through those tasks and figure out what parts can only you do, or what parts are on your plate that you can outsource, And what about the parts that you actually like doing or the parts that drain you? I am seeing some of the chat comments about like your team's doing this. That's great that they're time tracking. You don't actually know the full time audit picture part of it though, unless you're talking to them about like, what are you loving about your job? What are you not loving about your job? Where's your capacity at? Do you want more? Do you want less? And so those are great questions to ask during one-on-ones that you have with your team members, because the more that they are doing work that they hate and is draining them and burning them out, the faster they're going to be off of your team or be doing like not great work. And so as much as we think like we can control our schedule and what we're doing, it's also important as you as a CEO to help control their schedule. And so making sure that you and everyone on your team is doing things that you're really good at, that light you up, that's the beauty of the time audit. And so when we're talking about like hiring and time audits, we're going to do the time audit for ourselves, or maybe you're at a point where, like, for instance, the new hires that we're bringing on right now, we're bringing on 2 for bookkeeping and 2 for tax. I'm not doing the bookkeeping and tax work in my business anymore. So the time audit I did wasn't on me this time. It was looking at the amount of clients we expect to bring on and where our team is currently at with capacity. And so I'm doing a time audit on my team and figuring out what clients they like working with, what clients they don't like working with. Do we need more monthly clients or more quarterly clients? All of that to figure out what is our capacity and where are we needing to hire. So
Yeah, and I think if anyone is like me, especially when I was early on hiring, when I did my time audit, and I do mine like with a piece of paper and a pen next to my desk, and just every time I switch a task, I write down the time it is, like 10:10 started X, Y, and Z. Okay, now 10:35 started X, Y, and Z. And I just jot it down as I go. So I'm not worrying about trying to figure out, okay, I spent an hour here and there, but more I can go back and evaluate that later. But I literally jot it down on a piece of paper. And then I would go back through, like Dawn's explaining, and kind of star next to what had to be me, like what couldn't come off of my plate. And if any of you guys are like me, there's a lot that I think I have to do in my business. This is something I still struggle with. I'm a lot better about it now, but especially in the beginning, there's like, I would think that I needed to be the one that did everything because I was the one that knew how to do it, or it was my business, or the clients signed up to work with me. So I obviously have to be the one that does X, Y, and Z with them. So when I would do my time audit and then I would star like what has to be me, it was like basically everything. It was like very little things that I was able to say like, oh, someone else could do this piece for me. And now outside of making like strategic decisions about my business, I'm very aware that someone else could do pretty much everything in my business. And then I choose what it is that I want to do versus the thinking that I have to be the one that does everything. So for an example, I did not want to be the one that was in all of the client work. I thought I did in the beginning. And then as soon as I had somebody help me with that piece, I realized I actually enjoyed like running the business as a whole more than I enjoyed the client work. So I was really interested in looking at how I could step away from being in the client work, and then eventually stepped away from a lot of the client meetings. I still do a few here and there, but most of my team does that. On the flip side of that, if that's what lights you up, like if you're someone who's like, I got in doing this because I enjoy doing the client work, or maybe I don't want to do the client work, but I want to meet with my clients and be the face, the one that they meet with, that gets to be something that you want to do and that you like to do, and that can stay on your plate, and you can find other things that you're doing, admin work, marketing, sales, so many things that are filling your space, and have someone else do those. But I just encourage you that if you go through your time audit and you have starred a lot that you are the one that has to do it, I encourage you to challenge that and say, but like, really, could someone else with the right training and the right information and the right person, could someone else do this piece for me?
yeah, I agree with that.
Taylor, I
To
also have
challenge.
control issues.
Well, I was gonna say that, like, that's how I felt too, Taylor, in the beginning was, no, it has to be me, especially with certain clients.
Yeah.
Like, no one else can do this. And then you pass off a little bit of work, like, okay, well, someone can do the reconciliation. Okay, well, someone can do the categorizing. okay, well, if they're doing the categorizing, they might as well reach out and ask this question. And then it's like, slowly but surely, it's like, well, I guess I'll just show up to the client meeting. And so give yourself time and grace and like little by little, and just, I mean, as with everything, like bring awareness to it of, I think I have a control issue with this. Let's try just piece by piece to break off little things at a time. It doesn't have to be all at once. Rip the band-aid off, pass it to someone else, because if you do that and then something fails, you're not gonna want to try it again. So little by little, and
And
then, oh, go ahead.
oh, no, go ahead.
I was just, well, I was kind of going to change the subject of and
Okay, then
focus
hang
on
on. Let me jump in for just 1 second. I was just going to say a reframe that really worked for me and that continues to work for me really well is if it's something I don't really want to be doing and I'm forcing myself to do it, the outcome, the product that I'm putting out is just not going to be as good as if I bring someone else in to help with that piece and that's their main focus. So like, I hope no one is as burnt out as I was, but when I was doing a lot of client work and I was very burnt out and I was also trying to do all the admin and everything else, the client work just wasn't that great because I was having to rush through a lot of things. And my client, I realized once I brought the right team members on, my clients actually get served so much better. They get way more attention. Their books are better. And they just get a better service because they have someone whose focus is on them. So that's a reframe I think about a lot when I'm like, does this have to be me because I'm the business owner or I'm trying to take control over an area? I'm like, do I really want to do this? And if I don't, is the product going to be very good if I'm like kind of half-assing it because I don't really want to do it? Whereas I could bring someone in who is excited about it and would put all their energy and focus into it.
Yeah, agree to that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the freedom section too, because that's a big part of hiring is making sure that you are doing what you want to be doing. Okay, I think the last note that I have to say on the time part is you're doing a time audit, you're figuring out, okay, I have this task and it takes me an hour a day to do this, and this one takes me 3 hours a week, and you're starting to list these things that someone else you could hire to do, and you're kind of like starting to dabble in that thought. My tip for you is double all of that. Like no one can perform at the pace that you're probably doing it. So realistically, double it to give the new hire that you have grace and realize this is like you're the expert at this moment. At this moment in your business, you are the best person doing these things. And so when you bring on someone who's new to it, there's going to be a learning curve. And it's just going to be hard expectation wise if you're expecting them to do it in the same amount of time that you're doing it all right now.
I love
Learn that the hard way.
Yeah, for sure. It's easy to have expectations that we set for ourselves. We expect ourselves to do a lot.
For sure. I'm like, this client will only take you 5 hours a month. I'm like, why are you spending 10 hours on this?
For sure. Okay, does anybody have any like questions about kind of evaluating the time or a piece of your time audit that you're mentally thinking through that you want to chat through?
Yeah, this is like open workshop. So unmute yourselves, pop in the chat if there's anything you want to work through as we talk through these things.
And I do feel like this is one that take after this call and pick a day, or like Dawn said, a few days and work through it and then kind of revisit it. And then I still do one, or at least a small one, anytime I'm feeling like bogged down or unexcited about my business.
Yeah. I'm at the point in business where my time audits, I should rename them. They're like energy audits right now. Like, what's sucking out my energy? What is not lighting me? It's the same concept of time, just in a different way right now. So,
Okay, awesome. Then we're going to jump into the sort of second section here where we're going to talk about money. And like I said before, this is where Dawn and I are going to share some different ways that we have financed bringing on new team members. Again, We know that you guys are all very smart accountants and can do the math yourselves. So, and we know that there are many, many ways that you can find money to bring a team member on. So we're just going to share some things that have worked for us in case this is a roadblock for you. Whenever I first started hiring, this is something I really shared before, but I had a lot of like scarcity mindset issues around the money side of hiring. Like I just felt like it felt so intimidating to ask somebody to leave their job and come work for me. And then I am now responsible for paying them long term, you know, whatever that long term looked like, but like they were now counting on me for their livelihood. And I just would get in my head, like, what if I hire them and then everything burns to the ground tomorrow? Like, what if that happens, you know? And so like the money side of it actually was a pretty big block for me. And it was something that I've just have had kind of had to work through, but something that helped in the beginning. I still love now whenever we can plan it out this way, but we just do it a little bit different now. But in the beginning, what I really liked to do was I would try to hire an employee and then also sign a big QuickBooks project at the same time. Like if I could line those up, that was always my dream scenario. So I would try to sign a big QuickBooks project and it would really do two things. One, we'd get a big influx of cash to do that QuickBooks project, and that would pay for like at least their first month because I bring everyone on at full time. So it would pay for like maybe at least their first month of pay. And then that would give me some time to build up some clientele on their books. And again, more than anything, it was like a peace of mind. Like, okay, if nothing else, I have this. But also it gave me a really great opportunity to train them on the work and see their skill set pretty quick. QuickBooks projects, QuickBooks cleanup projects, if you guys do them, are not always easy and straightforward. They like literally never are. So there's a lot of like complexities, a lot of things that you kind of get to see their skill set on. So I felt like it kind of did both things. It helped on the money side of things and then also on the training side of things. And then I also like always wanted to have a fallback. So I also went the saving ahead of time route. I just didn't really want to have to dip into that if I didn't have to. So I would kind of save up ahead of time. I would know, I would see it coming up like, okay, we're going to have, that's what I do now. Like I know we're going to have to hire. I start setting some money aside. It generally takes, I think Dawn and I are on the same page about the time frame, but I would say it generally takes about 3 months, sometimes longer, but about 3 months to get someone trained and where you need them to be. Even if you bring someone on that is like perfectly experienced, they have to learn your processes, the way that you do things. The way you do things might be a little bit different. They might have a gap in their knowledge base that you were unaware of during the interview process. They're learning your team. They're learning what to expect from you. So it usually takes about 3 months to get them up to speed. So I usually plan for about 3 months of their pay, knowing that they're going to be taking on clients. It's not like I have to pull 3 months out of that savings. But again, it's more of a fallback for me. So I'm going to pause there. I know Dawn has some stuff to share, so I just want to open it up.
Yeah, for me and the finances, it was, I mean, happy to say, but for me, the finances was never really a block because I could see the financial ROI from hiring. My block definitely came from like the mindset part of it, of being someone's manager and being in charge of them. And then I didn't want to babysit someone and all of those things. And like how the dynamics of the team and working together and all those things. When it comes to the finances, that's a lot easier of a pill for me to swallow because pop it in numbers and on a spreadsheet. Well, that's what I live and breathe and know. So cool. Thanks for putting it in words that I understand. So for me, my tip when it comes to finances is project it. Project, like financially project. How many clients have you been taking? How many clients do you expect to be taking? What's the average number that these clients are paying you on a monthly or quarterly or project basis? And then looking at capacity for your new hire. And when you're saying like, I'm hiring someone for 20 hours a week or something. Okay, how much client work are they taking on? And then what's the billables for that? And then how much are you paying this person? And do you have subscriptions that you're adding or training hours that you're doing? And if you can put all that into numbers, you're gonna have to tweak. Like in the beginning, it's gonna change and tweak, but over time, you'll really be able to kind of key in on those numbers. Like now, we know our numbers pretty well. That when we're looking at a new hire, it's pretty clear. Like Ashley said, we usually do like a 3-month runway of, yeah, they're getting some clients. but we don't start to see profit from them until month 3 or 4. And
Yeah.
so knowing that and being able to plan for that, way easier, because I have the numbers right in front of me. And not only do I have the numbers right in front of me of like, okay, month 1 and 2, maybe part of month 3 are going to be investments. It's like, ooh, like the money eye emoji thing of, ooh, look at by month 6, they're making me some good money here. I can't wait until that. Like, love them so much. Let's bring on this new hire and make some more money. So yeah, I'm very much a put it in a spreadsheet, put numbers to it, and financially it will help you make sense of everything that's going on.
Yeah. And then Dawn and I have both done where you start small and scale up. We've both hired people on at like a smaller level. My first, like I was talking about earlier, my first admin person that I brought on, she was willing to come on at 5 or 10 hours a week. And then, but she wanted full time at some point, and we were able to sort of scale her up as the work allowed to full time. And I think a lot of times people think there won't be the right people who are interested in something like that, like someone who is willing to come on at a certain amount of hours and scale those up. But there are, I think if you know exactly what you want and you go out into like the marketplace of people and say, this is what I'm looking for, you will find your people. But it's definitely possible to just say, hey, I really just need someone right now for 20 hours a week. I'm hoping to get that up to full time. As sort of a dip your toes in or step in as you go. And this is, I know I've said full time a couple of times, but you could start someone at 10 hours and say, I want them to work up to 20 hours a week and they're going to be a part-time employee indefinitely. There are definitely
We have
benefits.
plenty of part-time people who during the beginning of the month they work more hours because that's like closing the books for everything. And then by the end of the month, they don't have many hours. And that works for a lot of people. So as long as you're open and clear in your communication and expectations when you're hiring, there's actually people who prefer that. So I mean, I think sometimes we get so stuck in like, this is how a job has to look. It has to be this many hours or stable amount of hours or even pay. Like, oh, no one's going to work if I'm only paying them 30,000 a year. Like everyone wants 6 figures. Well, no, put the job description, like wrap it all up, tie it with a pretty bow, exactly what you're looking for. And so long as that makes sense to someone else, so long as it makes sense to you and feels good to you, it's going to make sense to someone else.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the benefits that you can offer are going to be different than another job that they're looking for. So the benefits might look like remote work or a flexible work schedule or working with clients that they enjoy, working for a boss that they enjoy. Like there's a lot of things people will leave other jobs for that they would love to come work for you guys for whatever amount it is that you've decided that you want to offer. Elizabeth asked a great question on what Dawn and I's teams look like when it comes to hourly and salary. And currently my team is all salary and Dawn's is a mix, right, Dawn?
Yeah, I only do salary if people work over 20 hours per week. And if it's consistently over 20, I have some people that just fluctuate.
Yeah. So we made the jump. I actually was just looking at it. It was the beginning of 2022. And I mentioned earlier, so I did a big restructure of my team then, but we made a jump then to do it's called results only work environment. It's just all results based. So we have everyone on full-time salary. They have a certain amount of clients that they manage, and then they get some weeks they work more, some weeks they work less. But as long as they are meeting all of their results, meaning their deadlines, their client work, then they are get offered that salary. But again, so many ways that you can do that.
Can I ask a question on that, Ashley?
Yeah.
So like when you hire them, you would say it's results only, so we're not going to track our time. And you're going to ultimately, at the end of however much time period, handle a workload of this many clients. And that's the expectation. For this salary, you will do all the work for these clients. And if they're out of the office, they just need to work it, like figure out how to get the work done in different times.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll expand, but I just want to make sure, was that the end of your question? I thought maybe you had a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I feel like I still have a little, but, and then is it kind of like this many bookkeeping, this many CFO, or just based on the person, how many CFO clients versus bookkeeping clients they would have in their capacity, I guess, probably just.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So good question. So they have, just like you said, they have a set amount of work that is theirs to complete. And if they're going to be out of town, whatever that looks like, they do have to give note. We have like very specific rules around what this looks like, or what the like very flexible work schedule looks like. But in general, if they're going to be out, they have to notify, and then they have to have their work covered or completed before they leave for them to be out of the office. So we're not asking them to take vacation and take their computer with them, but like if they have payroll on a Friday and they're going to be out that Friday, they've got to make sure someone else on the team can cover running payroll on that Friday. Most of the time, the bookkeeping work is pretty easy for them to get done around traveling. We've had people take 2 weeks off and they still were able to get the bookkeeping done outside of their travel time. And then had kind of other people pick up. It just might have been like the little miscellaneous tasks and stuff that got pushed off into the next month, and they picked up those hours later. But I will say I've had a really good experience with it. Like I said, we have a lot of very specific expectations, and it's like all written out, and they sign this document. That way everyone is on the same page about it. We really haven't had anyone push the boundaries of it too much. And then we don't currently have any CFO packages that are separate from bookkeeping clients. So if they have a bookkeeping client that includes advisory, like next level advisory services, then it's just based on capacity. So our clients look different, right? Like we have some clients that are smaller, we have medium level clients, and then we have high level clients. And those might look like ones that have a lot of advisory, accounts payable, invoicing, the whole shebang. And so not everybody has like the exact same amount of clients. It's more of a capacity level. So we have a range. Did that answer your question?
Yes, yes. And I think that's definitely where I've made hiring mistakes in the past, is saying like, I'm picturing that when you are at full capacity and like learned us, you would handle this much workload. And I didn't spell that out. And I also, struggled with the vision of exactly what that would look like until obviously we ran into a mismatch. And so that's also, and I feel like I still struggle with like sometimes clients, you don't quite know what you're going to get until you get them onboarded. And so trying to figure out how to fit that all in with the new hire, but super interesting. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that gets us down like a whole level of like scope creep or a whole conversation of like scope creep and figuring out how to manage that with your team, because my team members do tend to want to say yes to things without asking me or chatting with, not that they're doing it, like they just are like, yeah, of course I can help you with that. And I'm like, that's would be something we would add on to the contract. So for sure.
Yeah, I'll just add to this that on the bookkeeping side, I think it's way easier to do that. Here's this pay for these expectations, like this pay for a range of, we do it by a range of clients, like 15 to 20 is full time for us. But again, full time meaning beginning of the month is busier, end of the month not as busy. And then we also add that they have to do, because we also want them contributing to the team. So not just you're doing your clients and checking it with everything else. It's like you're doing your clients and up to 2 VIP days, some training sessions and shadowing days with other team members to help them learn and grow. But I will say we have had one of our employees who we adore and love pushing that envelope recently. And so we just had to set a minimum amount of hours with her because she was working like 2 hours one week, 5 hours another week. And she has a full load of clients. We were like, is the work actually getting done? I have no peace of mind that it is. And it really wasn't all the way. So we had to set a minimum number of hours with her, but we haven't had to do that with anyone else. Just sometimes people are going to need more boundaries than here's all this freedom that we're going to give you. So, but yeah, our tax team, I'll say our tax team's a lot harder to do that. Our office team's harder to do that because office works fluctuates with tax season or even bookkeeping clients. Like if we bring on 8 clients one month and 2 clients another month, their hours are all over the place. So for fairness, a lot of those fluctuating jobs we keep hourly. Our bookkeepers were able to do project-based salary expectation chat.
I feel like for the bookkeeping, that's a really good model. And that's super beneficial for me. Like I'm all bookkeeping right now. So it also just like being able to pass off kind of like here is this important thing that you do and you get paid this much once you do it. And it kind of like gives them that sense of autonomy of like, yeah, this is my project and I don't have anybody over my shoulder going like, well, how many hours did you work on this, or this, or, you got stuck on this. It just takes a lot of that like micromanaging out of it and gives them a sense of pride and like, yes, I got this completed. I know what I'm gonna get by doing that. And it kind of just takes like, so for bookkeeping, I see why that's really a really great model. And then also you can kind of like calculate your own profit margins from that as well and go, okay, here's exactly how much the business is gonna make and then be able to like be really analytical about it as well. Like it just takes so much of that guesswork out. And so I had never even thought of that. So thank you. That's great.
You're exactly right. You know exactly what to expect if you set that. You know that like if you're going to pay them X amount and they're going to bring in X amount of dollars. And I will say in my team specifically, I've seen two things that I really like that have come from it. One is that they are very proactive about finding efficiencies. Like they on their own will go find something that will make their job more efficient, which I think is wonderful. And then on the second side of that, they will go out of their way, not all the time. And again, this gets like into a little bit of a conversation of scope creep, but they will go out of their way to help their client figure something out, knowing that it's something that's going to look really good to the client. It's going to make them look really good to the client. It's not necessarily going to be this like hourly thing. I'm not going to be like on their back about it. Like they'll help them set up some new system in their business. It's actually going to make their job easier, but also it's going to look really good for the clients. Like they'll take that extra step for their clients, which I love, but also they're very good about like making sure that their jobs are efficient because they know if they want to head out at noon on a Friday, great, do that as long as your work is done.
Yeah. I've seen both of those same things, Ashley, even to like the point of they'll go out of their way to make the clients happy because they don't want the client to leave because onboarding a new client is going to be a lot more work. And they have this client all set up in a nice place. It only takes a few hours. So let's just keep this person happy. Yeah.
And I will say that and like I told you guys, I have these guidelines and in the guidelines are the expectation is that they would be working about 35 hours a week. So we have lots of conversations about capacity. And if they have just gotten their clients so efficient that they're working 5 hours a week, which has never happened, but they would know that the expectation is there that if you're going to be paid this salary, your expectation is that you're putting in X amount of time. And so everyone on my team also does something else in the business. Like one of the girls helps with marketing, someone else does admin, like everyone has a different part of the business that they also contribute to, which is what they fill in the second 2 weeks of the month when it comes to bookkeeping. Yeah. So again, I feel like we could go on this subject for a long time. I think this is such a good deep dive. So I'm so glad you guys asked these questions, but I do think it highlights the fact that it can look so different in different businesses and you really get to choose and you get to be creative with that. I think a lot of us only know what happened in a company that we worked for previously. And I think more conversations like this need to continue happening so that everyone can like hear different ideas of what might work. Dawn and I talk a lot about like, we only know what our managers did for us or how our firm was set up before, and realizing that we're able to get creative with what we can offer team members and how we offer that to team members. You really get to choose. It doesn't have to be just kind of what maybe you think is the standard out there. You've got lots of options.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, comments, questions about the financing of the team?
Okay, cool. Then let's jump over to kind of chatting about freedom, which I think seems general, but it's probably my favorite part.
Same. This is the part I'm like, ooh, I could go off here, but we've already gone off on every other slides. But when it comes to freedom, here's the thing. We all started our businesses for more freedom. Even if we weren't using that exact word, we were using that in a way to describe, I want more freedom. Maybe that's, I'm tired of having a boss, or I want to be my own boss, or I want more money, which is more freedom, or I want more time, which is more freedom. Or you were actually using the word freedom. we all are gonna have different definitions of what that freedom looks like. And like Ashley was saying before, sometimes you get into business and you start your business and all you did was just create another job for yourself. And maybe a little bit worse of a job than you had before, actually, but you don't want to admit that because you're the one who created this job, kind of a thing. And what we're wanting to do with hiring is spread the workload. It doesn't have to all be on you. And the beauty is teamwork. And if we can spread that workload to other people who love doing this part, or who love doing this part, or who can take this thing off of you because they're way better at it, that's the goal here. And so we're trying to be very intentional about what we're passing off. But also when it comes to freedom, we're trying to be intentional about what we're bringing on. So for example, if you're doing that time audit and you're fine, you're liking all the things that you're doing, but your favorite part really is client meetings. Okay, how can we get you more client meetings then? Even if you're okay doing the bookkeeping or the back end or the office stuff, if the client meetings light you up and you want more of those, maybe we take off some of these other tasks that aren't your favorite so that you can get more client meetings. And in that way, you just gave yourself more freedom. So get creative with this and how you're building your business. And I mean, everyone here, I feel like I don't have to give you this pep talk because everyone here is like at the mindset point of like, either I am hiring or I just have hired. Ashley and I, you heard our stories where we wanted more freedom, but we didn't think that was going to come from hiring a team. We definitely thought that was going to bog us down more. And we've had the complete opposite experiences where it's like Ashley just had a really nice maternity leave that she wouldn't have been able to do without a team. Or the fact that I work like 20 hours a week now. I can only do that because I have a team. But we didn't think that that was going to happen through a team before, and yet it did. So it really, having a team for me has been like the ultimate sense of creating freedom inside of my business.
Yeah, I think I thought when I started my business, I started it for freedom. I wanted unlimited financial potential and I wanted the freedom for my schedule. I wanted to be able to work when I wanted and be able to create my own schedule. And I thought as soon as I quit my 9 to 5, I was like, this is full freedom. This is the best thing ever. And then you guys have heard my story about burnout and realized I actually had no freedom from my business at all. Like I was so tied down to the client work. Like I had just let them set my schedule. And truly hiring a team is what has given me like full freedom to be able to grow a business that I love, have that true like idea of unlimited financial potential while also like loving the time that I spend in my business and feeling like I have the freedom to step away when I want or to try something new in the business or to play around or to do things that I love. Because when I was bogged down and had so much on my plate, I couldn't try anything new. There was no time for like a passion project. There was no time to like keep finding joy in my business. It was more just like, I just have to get this work done to make sure that the client gets what they need. And I think that was leading to a lot of my burnout too, is that I was like, I had all these ideas of things that I wanted to try and do, but I just didn't really have the time or the freedom to be able to do those. And having a really awesome team in place has given me the freedom to step away, to continue to grow, to like find passion projects within the business and to do like spend my time in the business doing things that I really enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like sometimes we don't allow ourselves to think about this freedom part though, because it's like it's selfish to have so much fun working, like to love your job so much. I was like, it's okay. There's just going to be parts of my job I hate. And it's like, actually, you don't have to hate work. Did you know that? And so rewriting that and knowing that it's okay to love work and to be excited to go to work and to give the things you don't like to someone else because they might actually like doing that thing, call them crazy. But that's what all of our clients think of us. All of our clients are like, I hate the bookkeeping. Like, someone take this away from me. And they think it's crazy that we actually do maybe like it. You know, like there's different people who like different things, and we love them for that. So it's not selfish to find passions and to love what you're doing.
Yeah. I think let yourself figure out what that freedom looks like for you in your life and in your business, you know, like let yourself dream that up and then figure out how to make it work and put the right people in the right places, because you can make all the other pieces work, right? Like you can find the time, you can find the money, you can figure all that out as long as you kind of have an idea of what it is that you want your life to look like.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was cute, Emily. Speaking of freedom.
We get around. Yeah, speaking of, gives me a hug when he gets off the bus. Works out.
So cute.
Okay, well, I know that it's 3 o'clock, and I know that Dawn and we could keep talking about this piece or 1,000 other pieces a lot, but hiring and teams are the thing that we get asked the most from you guys, and it's the thing we see get asked the most in the Facebook group. Honestly, when Dawn and I meet a couple times a month, it's probably the thing we talk about the most is our teams, managing our teams, how it's going, how we're working through different problems and troubleshooting things that we come up with. And we just felt like there needed to be more accessible information out there for team stuff when it comes to accounting firms. So we put all of the things that we use together.
Yeah, we created a hiring handbook, which
Oh.
everything that we talked about today, like going through the time, the money, the freedom part of it, is like chapter 1 in this hiring handbook, and there's like 8 chapters to it. So there's a lot more that we have to talk about on hiring. And again, what we have to talk about with hiring is from our personal experience. And so in this hiring handbook, if you guys are interested in it, it talks about like job descriptions and how to write a job description, or how to do an interview with someone, or what the onboarding process has looked like for us and what has worked or hasn't worked. And so we've tried to just put it all in here. This is definitely, I don't talk about a passion project and freedom. This is Ashley and I have a lot to say on hiring, and we love talking about it. So we decided let's create an ebook for it. But hopefully between the conversation we've had today and this ebook, you guys are getting help to not have to learn all these things by yourself. Like, you don't have to be your own guinea pig. We've done it. We'll be the guinea pigs for you on hiring. Here's some tips we've learned. And also the Facebook group is always open. So hop in the Facebook group, talk about what's going on with your team. If you want to post anonymously, you can. Like, if your team members are part of that group or something, post anonymously, but tell us what's going on, or send Ashley and I a message about it and tell us what's going on with your team, and let's troubleshoot, because it can be really hard when we're all just building our own businesses from scratch from what we know. Let's combine the knowledge. That's the whole point of Accountants Lounge that we have, is let's join together, try to combine this knowledge and work together to build a business that we all love. And all of our businesses are going to look so different, because hopefully, because we're creating them from a place of this is what I'm passionate about, or this is what I love to do, or this is what I feel called to do. But yeah.
Yeah. And my little graphics didn't work, so Canva is really failing me. But one of the big things that Dawn and I wanted to make sure was in this that we thought would be beneficial, that like we both wish we had, is templates for everything. So the idea would be that you would take these and kind of mold it for your business, but there's employee contracts, contractor contracts, there's sample interview questions, there's like a little sample job post template, there's offer letters, there's like literally all the like templates that we use when it comes to hiring in our team. We've included those in there as templates to give you guys a place to start if you don't already have some of that stuff in place. But yes, if you guys ever have questions about team, don't hesitate to reach out to us, whether it's in the Facebook group or like message us, because it's something that we really enjoy talking about. And we're still learning. So we'll keep sharing with you guys as we learn. We are definitely learning as we go.
Yeah. Also, Ashley, we haven't talked about this, but I feel like now is a fun time to talk about it and share the news with everyone here that Ashley and I are starting a YouTube channel. Because we have so much to talk about that we're turning it into a YouTube channel. So really, when you guys have questions or thoughts or stories or whatever, we'd love to have you as a guest on the YouTube channel. But the YouTube channel is really just meant to be an extension of Accountant's Lounge because there's only so much time that we can all get together and like share our thoughts and opinions and as a group, and we have client work and all of these other things that are taking up our time, that we wanted to kind of boil it down to very specific episodes, quick episodes that's like, here's this one thing. So a million ideas just came to mind as I said that, and I can't even pull one out of my head, but like little snippets of the hiring process or the interview process or what our favorite question to ask is, or different things like that. But it's all things about running virtual accounting firms. So it's not just hiring, but our first few episodes are about hiring. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, we're hoping to launch that sometime in the next month.
Yeah, we're going to dive into marketing and sales and like what our sales calls look like and just all the things. And I think Dawn and I have just helped each other troubleshoot so many things in our business over the last couple of years. And we've just leaned on each other to help figure things out. And we want to share that information because I just wish that I was able to find more of it. I still do. There's still things I have questions about and feel like there should be like a little bit more accessible information for someone who runs a business sort of similar to mine. Because there's a lot of like stuffy accountant advice out there, but I just don't feel like that resonates with me fully. So our goal is to kind of share things that have worked for us.
I mean, I feel like everyone in our group, as much as it feels like maybe we're not super special or doing anything different, actually modern day virtual accounting firms that we're all building are so new to our industry. And so I feel like that's why there's not a whole lot of information and things out there on our fingertips. Like even the hiring handbook that Ashley and I put together, the amount of times the tips, basically all the tips that we have are very culture focused. They're not things that you're going to find on Google because it's all about culture and adding personality to things and doing things your way. And the accounting industry tends to be very black and white, not, hey, do things your way. So it's fun that we get to add that little reminder through everything that we do. Like, nope, this is your business. Build it your way. Thank you everyone for coming.
Yes, thank you. I know we ran over, so thank you guys for just coming and hanging out with us today and hanging out with us for over the time. We love getting to see y'all and hearing about your businesses. So please keep showing up in the Facebook group and share your questions, share your thoughts, share your wins, all of the above. This like really lights us up to meet with you guys and see what's going on.
Thanks, everyone. I'll stay on for a few more minutes in case anyone wants to talk about their business specifically.
Love it. I'll hang out too if anybody has anything you want to work through.
Thank you guys. I definitely found that very valuable. And just kind of like starting small. It's nice to know that I wasn't the only one that was like, okay, well, we'll just like start this and then we'll keep ramping it up. But also like, kind of just like affirming that I don't have to do everything, has been huge. So thank you. That was just kind of like the mindset shift of that. I felt like for me, hiring has just been a mindset thing. And I've had my husband saying lately, like, why are we doing this? Like, you're just always working. And I'm like, I know, I don't know how this happened, but here we are. So yeah, it's nice to know that I guess I'm just not alone in all of that. So thank you.
You're definitely not alone.
No. And I think for almost everyone, mindset is a big piece of it in one way or another. The mindset piece might look different, but I do think like moving into that manager position is a big deal. I think a lot of mindset has to play into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Olivia, I was trying to double check while we were on here, but I think that the NDAs that they sign, it's part of their employee contracts, and I think that's in the hiring handbook. Is it, Dawn? It's
I
part of
think
the
so
contract.
too. I don't have them sign like a full NDA thing, but it's basically like an overview, like an NDA for our full business and all of our clients, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
ours-
But
thanks.
yeah,
Yeah, ours is the same. It's a section. I'm like 90. I'm gonna double check right now, but I'm 99% sure it's in that handbook because it's a section on their employee contract.
Okay.
yeah. The confidentiality agreements and
Yeah,
then
they have a confidentiality. It's on there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
then we also do background checks before hiring people for that same reason.
Software do you use for that?
Oh, the one I was
Let
using
me-
migrated to a new company. So let me see what it's called.
I'm like, let me go to my QuickBooks. and
Uh,
see what it's
Good
called.
Hire. Yeah, the one I use is called Good Hire. They were called something else and then they got bought out like earlier this year.
Okay. Thank you. I'll
But
look
there's
into that.
tons of companies. I feel like most ones I looked at charged about the same. So I don't know if one was necessarily better than the other, but there's tons of companies out there that do them. But I do, especially if you're going to have them have access to like clients' bank accounts and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Mhm. We use First Advantage shareable.
Okay, yeah, I know that company. I didn't know they did background checks too.
Yeah. And pretty thorough. I mean, we've liked the process. It's thorough. My office manager runs it and then she's able to look at it and she knows to notify me if there's anything on there, but there isn't usually, but I do always ask people before I run it and I say, hey, we're gonna run a background check. Is there anything you'd like to notify me of before we do that? And if they don't tell me something that's on there, then it's a red flag. Like I had one person was like, oh shoot, you're gonna see all of my parking tickets or something, or speeding tickets. I think she's like, I'm really not that bad of a driver. But I did. And when we got the background check, I was like, dang. So it was nice that she told me. It helped to build trust with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think of doing that. At what point do you ask them that? Or tell them that you're gonna do that?
I do it when
actually
I
have it.
send the offer.
Oh, and I have it in my job description and when we send the offer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I usually feel like it comes up in the whatever that final interview is that I do. Sometimes we do multiple rounds, whatever the final one is, and I say I'm going to extend you an offer. I let them know at that point. There's also going to be a background check. It'll be part of the like offer process.
Okay. Thank you. This is so insightful.
Yeah. Right beside here. I do think it's great to have it on your job description because that might weed somebody out who has some weird stuff that you don't want to
Yeah, that's a
like.
smart thing to have.
Yeah.
I just have it in like the bottom of my job description where it says must be, I don't know, like must be able to, whatever that the wording is for being able to work in the US. But like they can work in the US and we run background checks. And that I feel like takes care of it for people who wouldn't pass either of those things.
Anything you can do to weed people out in the interview process or the hiring process is great because it can be a lot to go through and you don't want to like get far down with somebody and then realize that you can't even hire them. It takes up a lot of time.
I have a question on just like the internal side of it. How often are you guys doing like one-to-one type meetings, and kind of like full team meetings?
I love this question because I feel like, again, like the overarching theme is that it can look so different and it looks so different because Dawn and I do this very differently. We have team meetings, they're 30 minutes once a week and my whole team is there and we have like a very specific like agenda thing that we follow. And then I do one-on-ones with everyone on my team every other week. But again, I've got 5 people on my team and so I meet with them bi-weekly for 25 minutes is what we cap it at.
And Mine is very different from that. So
Dawn, your sound cut out. Is that just for me?
Mhm.
okay.
Okay, I can hear you now. It might have just been
Okay.
me.
Sorry. But I have 3 teams. So I have a marketing team, a tech team, and a bookkeeping team. So we do a full team meeting once a month. And then the smaller team meetings also once a month. And those smaller team meetings tend to be training meetings. So I guess if it was just a bookkeeping team, it'd probably be like one full team meeting, like more of a powwow, and then another team meeting that's more of a training. And then my one-on-ones, everyone has a one-on-one once a month with their managers. I only meet one-on-one with the managers once a month, and then everyone else I have a one-on-one with like maybe every 6 months. Try to do every quarter. I'm not good at it. It's every 6 months that I have a one-on-one with someone. But we have a very like open communication chat Slack thing. So I talk to them more regularly than that. But yeah, I haven't found the need for that frequent of one-on-ones.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
And it can
Yeah.
evolve. You can choose to do one thing and then it can evolve as your business changes.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's definitely evolved. I used to do a lot more frequent one-on-ones until I realized, okay, all we talk about is our kids on these meetings. Maybe we can cut it back and only talk about our kids sometimes, because we're running out of subjects so much that we're only talking about our kids, like
Mhm.
maybe they're too frequent.
Okay, on the note of kids, my husband is struggling in the other room with my baby, so I'm gonna go save him. If you guys have more questions, I can transfer the host to Dawn. If Dawn, you can stay, or you can take these offline, and please continue to ask questions in the Facebook group too.
I actually have to hop on a discovery call, so this is good timing, but Facebook group, let's keep the chat going for any questions you guys have.
Thank you guys for being here today and
you.
asking such
Thank
great
you.
questions.
Thanks.